don't worry, it has a 6-speed and the front wheels are not driven. Anyway, this thing, it's just here for a valve cover and an eccentric shaft sensor. Pretty easy, straightforward job, but it takes time. The PCV hose on the back and then making sure none of the cables are pinched, it kind of sucks. So we get going on it. Yeah, first step is just going to be taking off the electrical loom holder. Let's just jam a little standard screwdriver down in there basically, and then it'll pull forward. It doesn't come out completely. After that, 8 mils to pull the filter carrier off. These little guys on the side, it's just a single snap. And lift these things up on the back, just like that. It comes out. This sensor, leave in, but disconnect it. Standard type of plug. And then once we get in there, it'll be, I think, more 8 mils. But like I said, pretty straightforward stuff. Yep, so it's just an 8 like that, fine machine thread on each side. Then you're here, and then this is a big e-torx, e-torx. You can just use a 14 mil. Carefully on that, that's fine. Big standard, take that out, there's another one under there. You can leave this one in place if you want, it would still loosen it. This one you do have to take out. And then we'll actually pull the top off the e-box. That's already unlocked, which is a little sketchy. And then there's another release up here, which is really hard to do one-handed. Just push in on these tabs, and you can pull it up. And the reason why you do this is to give yourself a little bit more clearance for the valve cover, because the electricals are kind of big. Anyway, well, the back one wasn't undone yet. I see. Wow, what a fiddly pain in the butt this is. All right, there you go. So e-box cover out, and then you can just pull these guys up a little bit out of the way. It helps a bunch, so I highly recommend you do this. I think the last time I did one of these videos was on Mr. Wags, and I didn't do that, and I learned, so I recommend it. Sorry, 14 mil socket up there. E14s on the side, and then 5 mil Allens. I think there's 4 of those, maybe just 3. Interesting. Take those off, and then we'll have access to the coils, plugs, and valve cover gasket. I guess valve cover hold down hardware. And obviously we have to take that off before we can put in our new OE valve cover, which comes with a gasket. And the eccentric shaft sensor. Well, next up, once that's off, just pull all the coils normal style, and then use your E8 to take out the 3 little torx guys on the optronic motor. There is a hidden one underneath in there, and then obviously one on each side. Once we've done that, I'm gonna pull the 2 little 8 mils, one there and one down in there. And then I'll get this wiring harness off to the side. Obviously, disconnect your eccentric shaft sensor also. And again, just try to get everything as out of the way as you possibly can ahead of time. So this is about as good as you can hope to get. The power loom it'll stay out of the way. I might get a ratchet strap or something just to keep it away. That one doesn't really get perfect, but you can get the whole fuel injection loom out of the way pretty easily if you just undo 3 plugs up here, pull the oxygen sensors and leave them over there too. The more room the better on this job, really. It's really tricky. So now I'm going to go through, take all the perimeter bolts off, and then take the few inners off, and then it's the process of getting the valve cover off, which is easy except for that back corner right there, which sucks. Definitely shows evidence of dealer servicing, which is not what you want on one of these. Oofda. Icky, icky, icky. That's all pretty old, I'm guessing. It looks like it's actually regressing. The varnishing and sludge can subside over time with good, diligent oil changes like this customer has been doing, but wow. I remember pulling the valve cover. I mean, go look at the Mr. Wags video. That car had the same number of miles as this. I think it's spotless. So this person definitely was doing the 15,000 mile oil changes with the 5W30. These poor engines, man, just cooked. I mean, it doesn't really look like they suffer from it too much. The cams all look good and everything, but dealer servicing back when these things were released was a joke. Old and new eccentric shaft sensors. I found the best way to do it is to pull the lower bolt out through that part of the guide entirely and use a magnet to keep it from drawing into the engine. And then the upper two you just back out enough to get out of the aluminum, and everything seems like it works pretty well. After that, now I'm just gonna toss the new ESS in and then slowly and very carefully start working that new valve cover onto this. After you've done this, make sure to run your hand around just a little bit the entire perimeter to make sure that your gasket is still sitting in that little trench. And if it is for sure, everything's dropped in okay, go have a beer, because that sucked. Always does. There's no easy way to do it. In the case of today, it is a Valsteiner Oktoberfest. Nice. So yeah, I'm getting ready to torque them down now. There are 3 bolts that are not included in the valve cover set. And the part numbers are all over the internet, so I'm not going to drop these. But 2 of them are perimeter. Those are the bagged ones. And this one is the middle one from just below the Valvetronic motor. You don't have to replace these. They're not yield bolts. However, I still replace them every time because they're cheap. And why not? Especially when this isn't my own car. Oh, but now I can go through and reconnect that little capillary line. Tighten down the bleed screw. Basically doing things that I might forget to do later that would cause a problem. Yeah, I'm gonna torque them down, working my way inside out, and then the perimeter inside out in a zigzag motion. And luckily, they spec the fastener torque, 8.6 Newton meters, which I don't remember what it is, so I will have to ask my phone once I stop recording here, and then torque them down. In reality, I'm not going to torque them down to that spec. Just use your brain. When you bottom them out, they're on little metal dowels, and it's got a constant tension, so it should be fine. Once they snug down, you know, maybe just snug them down with a 3/8 ratchet, and it's probably fine. So that's what I'm gonna do. I've never had a failure, and yeah, once that's back on, I'm just gonna start buttoning everything else up in order. Valvetronic motor is gonna be first, and then I'll do the fuel injector harness and all that other fun stuff. So it really isn't that bad in reality, but this job does kind of suck. Well, all done. I just went underneath real quick to make sure it wasn't leaking, and also to delete the CDV, which this car apparently still had. Wow, 110,000 miles of shame and horribleness. But that's done now. Also noticed that the water pump is original, so I notified the owner that that needs to be done stat. He's been driving on borrowed time for like 25,000 miles, so that's terrifying. Guess I'll be careful when I drive it home. But she's good. Very fine.